Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, now let's get into the show. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Aneel Waraich on the line, and he's Executive Vice President and Director at Step Gold. Aneel, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Adam.
All right, Aneel. So excited to get into today's topic. So we'll talk about Step Gold and precious metals, specifically some of the work you're doing in Mongolia, and get your opinion on some other subjects too. A lot of investors, business owners, and executives listen to this to get ideas and tips. So excited to talk to about those things with you. And just to get us kicked off, I'll start with our signature question, if you will. So Aneel, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. Aneel, what mission matters to you?
The mission that matters for us is actually building a sustainable business, a business that can actually generate profitability over the longer term. It does not have to rely on just an exit strategy, meaning a sale to another company, in order to create a win for ourselves and our investors. We ourselves are large owners of this public company, alongside our investors. And so what we're trying to do is create a business that can be sustainable. So as profitability kicks in, as it is today, we can continue that for decades ahead of us. And really the win for investors and ourselves can come from the return of capital from that profitability, instead of just a trade sale, as you know, many businesses are set up for, or only have one path to success. And so really that's been our goal, is create a business that can grow, generate free cash flow, and at some point in the future can actually be returned to ourselves and investors alongside ourselves. If a trade sale doesn't occur, so something we don't have to rely on, I guess, is something different than maybe some other businesses.
That's awesome. Love bringing these mission-based entrepreneurs and executives on the line to share what they're up to. And I guess let's just start with Step Gold. So tell us a little bit more about the company.
Sure. So we founded Step Gold at the end of 2016 as a private company here in Canada, with the intent of building Mongolia's premier precious metals company. So myself, I'm on the board, and I'm a co-founder of the company at the end of 2016 with my partners, Matt Wood, who's a geologist by trade and has built many mining companies and sold them successfully for hundreds of millions of dollars each. And our other partner in Mongolia, Bata Timur, came up with the idea to establish this. You know, the timing was right. Precious metals were actually out of favor at the time, and we saw an opportunity to build a company and build a base in Mongolia where there's already a track record of success. So Bata and Matt previously built a coal company about 10 years ago, and that was a $20 million IPO, and 18 months later, they sold it for $500 million cash. So there's a track record of success and execution in the country that we're doing business. But more importantly, the country is one of the most resource-rich countries in the world, but yet still underexplored, already home to world-class discoveries and mines, especially on the copper side with the Oyu Tolgoi mine, which is still a very large gold producer, but will be one of the largest copper producers in the world that Rio Tinto operates. So certainly home to world-class discoveries and mines. And we wanted to focus on precious metals where we thought we had the distinct advantage. Matt being a gold geologist by trade, obviously knows the commodity well, knows the country well, and we saw an opportunity for us to kind of be first mover ahead of the pack. And so 2016, we set up the company. 2017, we acquired our first two assets, with our leading asset being the ATO project that we purchased from Centerra Gold, which is also a multi-billion-dollar publicly listed gold producer. They had spent about $30 million US on the project, drilled 7,000 meters, and most importantly, got a fully licensed and permitted for the mine that we just built and brought on successfully last year during, unfortunately, COVID. Still profitable right out of the gate, but we took a phased approach, and we took all their work and I guess refined it and took a staged approach and built a smaller operation first to get established, and then grow the larger resource underneath. And that's what we've done in the last couple of years. We've actually doubled the size of the deposits while building the smaller mine that's generating cash flow from surface. So it's a de-risking approach, and it allows you to bootstrap the company by using your own cash flow to actually then grow into a much larger deposit and mine underneath. So in 2017, we acquired that project, as well as a very large exploration license called the UK license, Udumhundi. And that's a license we're actually drilling for the first time ever this year. So a very exciting project that could be another mine for us. In 2018, we listed the company on the main board of the Toronto Stock Exchange. And in fact, we were the only main board mining IPO in 2018. So in a very tough market, I guess we like our challenges. We actually raised $25 million. We had the very strong backing of Elliott Management out of New York with their associated fund called Triple Flag Mining Finance, which is a fantastic result to have very strong backers who saw the longer game and were able to help us buy the asset for $20 million US and help us build it for $20 million US. And now our first quarter of production last year generated over $25 million US of sales on gold. So a very exciting base that we set up in the last few years, and in a way we're just getting started. So today, Step Gold has produced successfully for 9 months, starting ramp up last year in 2020, April 2020. In a very tough time when borders were closed and restricted, we still successfully brought production online and profitably. So we're very happy with that result, and again, another tough environment and year last year. So I guess challenges are a thing, but certainly we're up for it. And now we have a good base to actually grow the company. And our goal is to build a mid-tier precious metals company. So, a production profile that could hit, 250,000 ounces a year and grow our resource, to 5 million plus ounces. And at that point, that is a multi-billion-dollar company. And today we're at about 100 million. So a lot of room to grow, but now we've established a very strong base to work off. And the goal is, like I mentioned earlier, is to build a sustainable company. So we don't need to just build this and sell it. We could build and operate and generate a lot of dividends or return of capital or share buybacks, other ways to create liquidity events for ourselves and investors. That's really the goal, and we're focused on Mongolia.
Yeah, that was actually my next question. So I was going to say, okay, you're Canadian, capital markets experience, ton of it, and Mongolia. I mean, tell me a little bit more about what drew you there. It's just that's not the obvious match, I guess, if I'm saying that right. I'm like, but hearing you talk about it, I'm like, man, I think I know why you're going over there, but tell us a little bit more about kind of how that part came and how it is to kind of operate in that emerging economy, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, no, listen. So Mongolia is a former Soviet satellite country. So they gained independence in the early 90s. And it's a functional democracy. So they have elections every 4 years, with a 1-year offset for the presidential elections. So the prime minister and all the members of parliament get elected in one term, and the next year is the presidential election. So it functions like any other democracy around the world. It's again they were relatively new in terms of independence and under kind of the Soviet thumb for a long time, and obviously a resource-rich country, which we already know that because we've seen world-class discoveries of mines being built. So it's an opportunity where we as a team, saw well ahead of everyone else because of Matt, my partner's past experience in country successfully. So how I got involved was I was advising Matt as a banker on another transaction in 2015, and that's where he mentioned he wanted to get back into Mongolia and focus on precious metals, and he saw the opportunity then in 2016 as kind of the turning point in the opportunity to kind of lay our base and be set up for the next few decades. So I got involved. I said I'll be happy to be involved, and I helped set up the company from inception. 3 of us we started with 3 people. Now we have 300 employees. So it was just an idea, but I was able to help raise the capital, negotiate the acquisition, build a board and management team around that, and it's very exciting. And if we've had such a great experience in 2016, the government's very supportive. They're pro-mining, they're pro-foreign investment, and in fact, they're pro-Step Gold. They actually have made their first ever investment through their sovereign fund into Step Gold. So the first ever mining investment was into Step Gold. So clearly a place that you can do business with strong support, and that's why we're there. We see the opportunity, and we saw it was a first mover advantage.
Man, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
It's a great insight into how sometimes these things take place, and how somebody goes into a market that, and has an idea, brings the right people together, brings the board together. I love the fact that you have a partner and you complement each other. I mean, that's the way I look. We're in the media business here, obviously, but my partner, Waraich, I can't do what he does, and he allows me to do what I need to do all day. And if I'm not recording an interview, he's mad. Why aren't you doing an interview? And if he's not out there doing biz dev or negotiating some deal for us, I'm like, what are you doing? You're not recording anything today. so it's good to have partners that complement each other, and it sounds like you put together a great team and a great board around you to make sure, because if you didn't, then you wouldn't be having this type of success. I mean, nothing against you, but we all need to have partners and support and people that complement what we do to make something from small and inception to a bigger business. And so I look at obviously what gets a lot of media, and I'm glad to have you on today, because a lot of media and excitement around Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, all these other things. But when I hear somebody, a younger entrepreneur out there, going into gold as a value proposition, I mean, what's your thoughts on just kind of, I know they're complete opposite ends of the spectrum, by the way. I would argue, not everybody would argue that, by the way. That's my opinion. What would be your value proposition, maybe even to some of those younger listeners that are tuning in right now that don't really know much about gold?
I guess first, gold is, it's the oldest currency in the world. Yeah. So it's held its value, and it's been around forever. Yes, there's always new opportunities like the cryptos and related currencies in the world. And I have actually, I don't think they're exactly off it. I think they're also alternative assets where there could be storage of value. And it's an opportunity, like gold or precious metals, to be able to hold and own something that can store value that's not just in cash, right? Or bonds or equity. And so gold has always performed, I would say, quite similar in terms of cycles around the world in over the hundreds and thousands of years, and it's always maintained its ability to store and safe in a safe manner value, right? So it served its purpose, and it always has, and it's been around for so long. I don't think it's going anywhere. So it's a great opportunity to have a small piece of precious metals or gold in your portfolio, and you can have crypto. I don't see them as competition. I just see them as another opportunity, right? It's a newer one, and I think maybe a bit more volatile and not regulated as much as gold is, and gold's a very liquid market, right? We can produce as much gold as we can, and we can sell it the next minute at the market price without any discount. So that's a very liquid and large market that certainly has a storage of value, and it's proved that definitely during inflationary times. So gold we like, and I don't think it's going anywhere. Sure, the pricing could go down as it has in the past, but it always ends up coming back up. And certainly it plays the defense it's supposed to be. But I'm still, again, not against the cryptos and these all alternative assets. I think they all play a part. Some more than others, I guess, certainly. But gold has performed and been there forever. I guess that's my biggest point.
Yeah, and then that's well said. I think that was poor wording on my part when I said they're opposite. I meant I don't mean as a store of value, and I don't mean as a currency. I just meant more so in terms of the marketing side of things. I feel like for the younger generation, and I mean even much younger than myself, they look at something like gold just isn't always quite as sexy for them, and I don't feel like it. Obviously, that's not how we should be making investment decisions. By the way, it has nothing to do with that. But I just mean the way that I see it in the media and other things like that, like you don't hear quite as much. It's not quite as clickable always. So that's why I'm happy to have you on the line, because I want to make sure that people hear the other side of the story too, not just who's buying the most ads or who has, who's the best at attracting eyeballs, so to speak, right?
Sure. No, absolutely. And I still think gold is sexy as well. And certainly it's quite, ingrained in cultures in Asia as well, as you may know. And that's not going away. So regardless of cryptocurrencies or anything else, you can't change these people's minds over thousands of years. Of gold is used for celebration to, holy festivals to weddings and wedding seasons. And that hasn't changed, and it won't.
I completely couldn't agree with you. Couldn't agree with you more on that one, Aneel. So that being said, first off, it's been great having you on the show today. Appreciate your insight into what you're doing over at Step Gold, and of course, insight into Mongolia and other things. And wish you continued success. And that being said, if somebody's listening to this right now and they want to learn more about Step Gold or they want to connect, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way, obviously, there's just, two, directly through me. I'm happy to always have a call with investors, big and small. As I tell people, I speak to people who buy hundreds of shares and those who buy tens of millions, and everyone in between. So myself is always a good resource, Aneel at stepgold.com, that's ANEEL at STEPPE or our website, www.steppegold.com, and from there, you can actually set up a meeting with myself or our management team as well. So there are lots of good resources, videos of Mongolia, of our operations. I think people will fall in love just the way I did 5 years ago with the country and the opportunity, and you can feel the buzz. So please reach out in any manner.
Man, that's great. Awesome. Well, Aneel, again, thank you for coming on the show today. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you learned a lot. If you did, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. We definitely want you to be return visitors and listeners. We have a lot more mission-based entrepreneurs and businesses coming on the line. Don't want you to miss any of that. So hit that subscribe button. And Aneel, thanks again for coming on the show. It has been a pleasure.
No, thanks very much for having me, and thanks for your listeners as well. I appreciate it.